up, chat? What's up, guys? Happy Taco Tuesday. It's January 25th, 2022. I'm Gun. Twitter.com/Gundacker. Joined per usual, not always, but per usual, by Josh. He's been a catalyst in launching this show, and he's here again. And we got a big slate. And I love when there's big slates, because I can see Josh's brain just start small in the morning and just grow and grow and grow. It's like this. It's just like he's got like a old private detective bulletin board with yarn. Okay, this guy's out. It's a beautiful process. What's up, Josh?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going good. I'm waiting on. I got a cup of coffee brewing, and then my brain will be at max capacity for a couple hours, and I'll be happy. Some days is a bang day, some days is a coffee day. It's getting a little cooler out here, so warm up with some coffee, and then coffee just tends to work a little bit faster. And I feel like for a 9-game slate, I gotta go in. I gotta get some of the old school Folgers in my cup,
Well, especially for today, like you're saying, not only is it a big slate, but so many smash spots, I feel like, today. Unlike yesterday, which is the complete opposite, where we predicted these slow-paced, good defensive matchups was going to lead to traps, and Mobley and Garland were definitely those traps last night, so...
Yeah, when we're creating a player pool of, or really a prop pool rather, of stuff we want to target, it's definitely it's a lot more fun to be involved in 220, 230 totals up pace spots with guys we know played 35, 40 minutes yesterday, and a couple other slates where, like, even if it's not even just a bunch of slow pace games, but just having a couple of games, 2-game, 3-game, 4-game slate, you just don't get the variety and the options. But I, like you, love these bigger slates. I feel like that's where we found our biggest success. So it's been a great antithesis. I don't even think that's a word. Somebody out there correct me, but it's been a great compliment, I guess, to the DFS grind, right? Like DFS, those smaller slates, 5-6 games as well, like those are the sweet spots for DFS. But when it becomes time for the 11-game slate, the 9-game slate, there's so much news to keep track of that in a salary-based format, it creates complete chaos and late swap, blah, blah, blah. And PrizePicks and prop betting has been an incredible way to simplify that process, because, boy, is that one a headache a couple times a week. So I've definitely been enjoying the PrizePicks grind. It looks like you guys are enjoying the PrizePicks and prop grind content, because man, oh man, are we growing exponentially lately. We did a video this morning that right now has 22. It has generated 22 new subscribers to the channel, which is insane, because it wasn't but a week ago we were 100 subs away from 6K. We hit 6K yesterday, and now we're at 6033. So, like, is 7K gonna happen next month at this rate? Maybe. And it's kind of like re-sparked my energy to get more content, add more content creators to the team and network. But enough blabbering, chat. What's up, guys? What up? Rich Homie Quinn, Mia Moore, Skimmer, Justin Brooks, Fish Fan in the chat. If you guys are stumbling across this video on YouTube, maybe you're not catching it live, be sure to hit that thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because, man, we are pumping out content. Right after this stream, I'll be live chopping up these games all over again, a little bit more in-depth from a DFS point of view, but let's get started. Just a couple of minutes ago, while we were prepping to go live, Fred VanVleet was downgraded to questionable, which is kind of unfortunate, because he was one of the guys I was focused on in my video this morning, because he plays 40 minutes a game, and the Raptors have such a let's go home. Wait a minute. Look at Fish Fan. Fish Fan took back the biggest D.
Congrats on 6 Kelvins and looking to 7K. Thanks for the fire.
Six Kelvins. Appreciate that, Fish. That's love. Fish now, the biggest D of the month. Swang it. But yeah, the Raptors Raptors were going to be a point of emphasis tonight because, a team that plays 40 minutes apiece against the Charlotte Hornets, that's what dreams are made of. But because Van Vliet was downgraded to questionable, Raptors stuff have pretty much all been stripped from the PrizePicks board. Only Scotty Barnes remains at 24.5, which, I think anything is worth a chip in a chair at this point. But I guess we can't really spend much time talking about the Raptors. So unfortunate there. Looking through this slate here, Josh, is there a specific person, team, or spot that you wanted to highlight first?
Yeah, I know you already went over it in the early morning video, but the Spurs spot, trying to parse through what DeJounte Murray probably liked the best, and also maybe getting some Pirtle is a prime spot for him, either his fantasy points or his just real life points. And then, touching on the Celtics side with Robert Williams and Tatum.
All right, so let's key in on the Spurs here first. 235.5 is our total here. 3-point spread in favor of the San Antonio Spurs. DeJounte Murray, everything he does is so well complemented by the lack of defense for the Houston Rockets and the fact that their offense is pretty sloppy as well. In his last game against the Rockets, by game log versus Rockets last two games, he dropped like 69 PrizePicks points, and I just think this is one of the biggest upside matchups in the entire slate. He played 37 minutes that game, 30-point triple-double, and 3 steals with no turnovers. That's an incredible game, extremely efficient, and the steals are a real part of his game. He averages 2 steals a game, while the Houston Rockets allow the most steals per game because they are just a really young team with really young ball handlers, over a steal per game greater than the Cavaliers right now, leading the league. So it's a great spot for DeJounte Murray in every facet of the action world, right? Sports betting, prop betting, and DFS. Some lines that we have on DeJounte: 21.5 real points, 8.5 rebounds, 9.5 assists, 49.5 fantasy points, 38.5 PRA, and 2 free throws made. So I said this morning that if his fantasy score was under 50, I would take it. And they are really going to push me to the level here, putting him at 49.5. My projection is 56.7 PrizePicks points. So I do think that is still something that he's going to clear. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more of a sweat because of how high the point total is. Another guy that I was on from the Spurs is Derek White. I got him pushing almost 40 fantasy points as well. So I think in any one of these props individually is worth taking. But Derek White has a 32.5 fantasy score projection to attack from PrizePicks and 25.5 PRA. And White can also get you steals, averaging over a steal per game himself. But 25.5 PRA is also pretty doggone low considering he's the guy that can stuff the stat sheet as well. So those are my 2 favorite Spurs to attack. DeJounte at 49.5 fantasy points. That's up there. Would you rather sweat that, or would you rather go on one of these smaller stats, maybe like a 9.5 assist? What's your favorite Murray prop?
Yeah, I think I like the assist prop at 9.5 and pairing it with either Derek White or Pirtle. But I did notice I've been watching the Spurs last few games, and they're really focusing on getting Pirtle the ball on the pick and roll. Murray's that's his go-to play. That's what he looks for. Puts his back to the defender and then tries to get him to stop up, and then he dishes it to Pirtle. And that play, they ran it so many times against the 76ers, and it was so efficient. I could see them easily going back to that, especially in this matchup. So yeah, I think 9.5 assists I'd go with. The 38.5 PRA, that's almost a triple double right there with his season average points being close to 20 points. That's pretty high. So I would if I wasn't going to go assists, I would go to the fantasy points just because he can fill it up with the steals and blocks, like you said. Yeah, so assists and then fantasy points for DeJounte is what I'm leaning towards right now. And then, yeah, give me some Pirtle to pair, like I said, and then some Derek White, like you mentioned.
Yeah, when There was a stretch this season where Derek White was out and vice versa, but for clarity's sake, Derek White and DeJounte, when they're on the court together, White has a 22.5% assist rate, DeJounte Murray 33.7% assist rate, over $1.25 PrizePicks fantasy points per minute. So I kind of like what you're saying, especially with that pick and roll. One of the things that Houston does is, like I said, play extremely bad defense, but they also allow a pretty significant amount of points in the paint as well, the second most behind just the Sacramento Kings. So positively correlated DeJounte Murray assist prop with Jakob Poeltl real points could be something that you throw in the mix. I have really big fancy numbers on the big three Spurs, DeJounte, Derek White, and Jakob Poeltl. I got Poeltl at 44.5 PrizePicks fantasy points right now. They got him at 37.5, and then like you said, the points should be there, and the rebounds should be there, and there's not much to not like. My favorite to key in on is DeJounte, Derek White, and then Jakob Poeltl. Did you have a specific Poeltl bet? You thinking 13.5 real points on that pick and roll hunch, or maybe you put it all together with the the Rockets also allow a top 3 amount of blocks per game. Is 37.5 fantasy points a good way to throw a net and all encompass all of his potential today? It's such a big time matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely, if you're going to go the DeJounte assist, you could definitely do the fantasy point for Poeltl because the rebounding won't be negatively correlated with DeJounte on that side. So yeah, I could definitely get to the fantasy points because, like you said, the Rockets just give up so many block shots. So he could, easily get 3 or 4 blocks and get there. So
yeah. Let me see if I can get a box score from that last Spurs Rockets game. See who all was in. Looks like the Spurs were with Jakob Poeltl, no Derek White, but in that game, Jakob Poeltl had 13 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. So he picked up 12 fantasy points just from blocks and steals. So yeah, maybe he also fouled out in 31 minutes. So maybe he doesn't foul out here, and maybe those blocks and steals, give him arguably a 9-point floor to start his fantasy points off. So I can get behind that. I like the Spurs quite a bit in all of those splits here. Rewinding a little bit earlier in the slate. So the Pelicans, I don't know if you guys caught this, they're sending the skeleton crew into battle against the 76ers today, benching all the starters and resting everyone. So I don't think we can get on any of the Pelicans with like high level of confidence, and it doesn't look like we're getting an awful lot to choose from. Nothing. On the 76ers side, Joel Embiid has a stretch of like 30 real points a game right now. You wonder if they let him go out there and continue this ridiculous stretch to keep his case for the MVP strong. Not probably something I'm going to lay much action on moving forward. The Hornets and Raptors game we talked about, can't really get behind Raptors clicks right now because there's nothing up there based on that Van Vliet. Questionable news, somebody asked in chat, Team Underground says, gut feel, does Van Vliet play today? So historically, I tend to treat midday questionables as closer to out than in. Obviously, that's not the case all the time, but it does, for me, indicate that it's a potential problem that they didn't expect yesterday. He wasn't on the injury report coming into the day. So I tend to lean that they're potentially out, closer to out than in. Hopefully, with that game being at the time slot that it is, the first game part of the lock slates, the lock set of games, we would have that information, and then if Van Vliet was out, obviously that's a major boost for everyone else. Pascal Siakam becomes a huge play. Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes all get boosts. It is the Charlotte Hornets. I guess if you're looking for maybe other ancillary tells, the Raptors were 2.5 point favorites to start the day against the Hornets, and if they're missing their 40-minute point guard, I could see that line getting closer to a pick'em or worse. And if that line is moving dramatically, it might be more fuel for the Van Vliet is out fire. Right now, they're still listed as 2.5, but maybe the Lions haven't really compensated for that. News, you mentioned Boston. So Boston hosting the Sacramento Kings. They definitely could use a strong win or two to get things going in the right direction. Robert Williams, a couple games from having that baby. So we're still dealing with the big baby narrative. The Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox is questionable. If he's out, obviously it's going to boost Halliburton's playmaking responsibilities, assist percentages, stuff like that. But it sounds like you're a little bit more keyed in on the Celtics. What are you liking from the Celtics from a PrizePicks and player prop standpoint? I would imagine we're taking advantage of the Kings' 114.4 points per 100 possessions allowed, and perhaps the fact that they lead the league in points in the paint. What's standing out for the Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, does Tatum keep this heater up, right? Like that last game where he dropped 51 points was pretty incredible. And he's crashing the boards hard. I mean, he's had over 10 rebounds the last 2 or 3 games. I feel like he's going to keep this trend going, especially in a soft matchup. So I could get on his 25.5 point prop, or even his 45.5 fantasy point prop as well. And then Robert Williams, I mean, he could easily have 5 blocks tonight and definitely get over 33 fantasy points. So I like his 33 fantasy point prop. What do you have him currently projected? I haven't looked at.
So I got Williams at 37 fantasy points. He is averaging over 2 blocks a game, almost a steal per game. The Sacramento Kings allow a decent chunk of blocks per game. Not as sloppy as you would think they are with steals, but Williams is a beast in that category. They gave us a 2.5 blocks and steals line for Robert Williams. I'm probably going to stay away from that, but I do think the fantasy points has a little bit of meat on the bone. And then maybe the real points, because they do hemorrhage so many points in the paint, but none of those are like insta clicks. But I think I'm with you on Tatum, and then in DFS I tend to hedge Tatum with Jaylen Brown and vice versa. Maybe if it gets to that level, it bleeds over to PrizePicks. I might have to run similar cards, one with Tatum real points, one with Jaylen Brown real points, because it tends to always be one or the other. But from a Tatum fantasy point standpoint, I got him at 48 fantasy points. I got Jaylen Brown at 43 fantasy points. And looking at PrizePicks, they're giving us a line for Tatum at 45. So that's not a big margin of difference between my projection and theirs. And Jaylen Brown fantasy projection at 38.5. So a little bit more room, closer to 5-6 fantasy points there. But it's really right in the nose. Dude, I definitely, I turned Slack away and I'm still getting notifications, man. I hate this app. All right, we're fixed.
There was one thing, going back to the Spurs game, I wanted to mention on the other side of the ball, if you want to do a little game stack and hope for a shootout, I like Christian Wood a lot in this spot. I think he did pretty well last game 2 weeks ago against the Spurs. Spurs really bleed fantasy points to centers, and Wood's been really efficient lately. So I like his 38 fantasy point. I think it's 38.5 fantasy point prop, and I think his point prop went up this morning to 19.5, I believe. It started at 18.5. But I'm more keen on the fantasy point for him. What are your thoughts on him?
For fantasy points, I have him at 45.
Okay.
And his line is at Christian Wood. 39.5. So I have 5-6 fantasy points leeway. I definitely don't hate it. Silas can be annoying at times when it comes to that team's rotation, especially if the scoreboard gets lopsided. But Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. definitely are guys that I expect to be strong catalysts in that team's success and their competitiveness in a game like this. I think Jakob Poeltl, the defensive metric for the Spurs should regress. Jakob Poeltl was touted strongly by Popovich earlier this year as one of the anchors of their defense, but DVP tells a different story. And Christian Wood's just uber talented. So if he's going to sustain a top 2-3% usage on this team, alongside Kevin Porter, Jalen Green, I definitely think there's room for him to hit a couple of these props, especially thinking about this total being what it is, 238, 5.5. I mean, this is probably one of the highest totals we'll see all week. 230 plus is the honey wells, the honey holes, if you will. And there's just so much potential for guys who have props similar to their season averages to just beat their season averages just because the game total is well above a season average. So I wouldn't talk you off of anything from the Rockets side, especially Christian Wood. Let me see where are we at on the Nets. So the Nets were a point of interest for me this morning. No Kyrie Irving game in Brooklyn. No Kevin Durant. Anthony Davis back for the Lakers. So we're looking at the Lakers being close to what they were to start the season, which we can't forget that with AD, it's not like they were great, but it does give them a true big to rotate in that front court. Maybe LeBron James days as center are over, at least while Anthony Davis is healthy for the next week or two. But I think the more interesting spot is the Brooklyn Nets. Now, this morning, I thought Patty Mills being at 13.5 points for his prop was pretty doggone low, all things considered. We've seen that line move. I expected that line to move this morning, but some of these Nets lines, here we go with this Nets, bringing up Hornets again. But some of these Nets lines I still think are pretty attackable if we paint Brooklyn keeping this game close and competitive. It's just a 3.5 point spread right now, and you feel like that's putting a lot of confidence in James Harden to pick up a lot of slack here. He has over a 40% assist rate, well over 30% usage rate without KD, without Kyrie, and just looking around here, if this team's going to meet their implied total, over 110 real points, who's going to score the basketball? Obviously, James Harden is going to be one, but who's number two? And I think Patty Mills has a real shot at being 2, if not 2, 3, something like that. So even at 14.5 points, I'm pretty interested in this number. And we've seen him clear this in a pair of games alongside Harden and Kyrie Irving. So I do think Patty Mills could be one of the better handcuffs to James Harden today if we're looking for points. And half of Patty Mills' shot attempts will be from behind the arc, some three-pointers, 7, 8 of them not out of the question here. 15 to 20 real shots, I think, is a real realistic range of outcomes. So I don't think he's one of those guys that gives me enough peripherals that I want to throw a blanket over his production from like fantasy or PRA. I think if he has a good game, it's largely because he contributed a lot of real points. So I'm kind of expecting, nearly a 20-point game. So I still think even at 14.5, I'm a buyer. And then, if we get a 3-point prop of like 2.5 or 3.5, probably 2.5 is as much as I want to go. Maybe I get behind that. Do you have any Nets props queued up here? Harden and Mills are the two that I am most interested in.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Mills point prop, and then I think the 2.5 3-point made for Harden is interesting to me, just because he's gonna obviously chuck it, and Lakers are ranked like 21st, 22nd, bottom 10 in 3 points allowed per game. Mm-hmm. So I think he could easily get over the 2 threes there. I haven't decided on his fantasy score. What do you have him projected at again?
Harden probably got him for 8 million points. I have him for 65 fantasy points.
Okay, so that's in play. I mean, it's definitely
it's definitely live. Yeah. They've got him at 56. So I'm still, it's. You don't see a lot of 50 pluses on PrizePicks, so they're starting to learn. There was a long stretch where anything under 50, I was taking action on some of these studs. But 56 is definitely live for the over. For me.
So give me that in this 3-point prop. Those are the two I like the most right now.
All right, just out of curiosity, I'm gonna put Harden, Mills on. I'm gonna take Kevin Durant and Kyrie off. Nick Claxton is a wild card here. I saw my boy Dexter said Daron Sharp for the Nets PRA. Just keep an eye on Claxton because I don't know that he's 100% out right now. He hasn't played in a couple games. Hamstring listed as questionable. If he was ruled in, that would probably be a huge monkey wrench between him, Daron Sharp, and more emphatically and probably more notably LaMarcus Aldridge. And they didn't give us any LaMarcus Aldridge lines to choose from. But between you and me, I think Aldridge is going to be a big part of this game, keeping a 3-point spread. Mills and Harden on, Durant, Kyrie off. We got Harden at a 33.8% usage rate, almost a 46% assist rate. That's insane. While Mills has a 17% usage rate. That'll be good for second on the team unless LaMarcus Aldridge is on the court with them. And then, of course, like I said, half of his shots are going to be 3-point attempts. So maybe if you didn't want to sweat 50-plus fantasy points for James Harden, maybe you cut it in half for like a first half prop or something like that. But secondly, maybe you just kind of like lean on the assists and you want to sweat the assists, because obviously him having double-digit assists would probably be a big reason he has nearly 60 fantasy points. He's cleared 11.5 twice in his last 5. Remember, all these games were alongside Kyrie, and Kyrie is another 20 to 30% assist guy depending on the game. So I definitely think Harden's going to be a massive contributor in that category. 11.5 still up there, so I get it. I'd rather get behind the fantasy points here, but I'm all about this Patty Mills stuff. And then hopefully we get some LaMarcus Aldridge lines, because I do think he would be a maybe just more for DFS, but I definitely think he's shown a propensity to be a big contributor lately. But I think the fact that he won't start more than likely will be enough to kind of like not get action to lay. But in his last 2 or 3 games for the Nets, he's closed out for him. I guess not that last game, but against the San Antonio Spurs, Aldridge closed out. Against the Cavaliers, he closed out, and he was very productive. So maybe I'll keep that in the back of my mind from a DFS standpoint. And just for the heck of it, did we get any Lakers lines? We do have Lakers lines. I think with the big 3 in the mix, normally I'd be interested in taking some unders on some assists, but I think because it is the Nets, and the Nets without KD, looking at this roster, are probably going to be pretty weak and porous defensively. So I'm probably fading most of these clicks. But did you have a Lakers line that you were interested in?
I honestly did not even prop hunt through their team yet. So
I think that's fair. There's slates like this, I like to pick my battles, and I do think with the big 3 involved, like it's probably enough to ill. All right, chat. If you're looking at the screen, I'm perusing through the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. So this is a spreadsheet that was designed to complement the DFS grind, expedite your daily research process, be able to understand what games are happening, who's projected to do what, and present all this information in a pretty convenient, easy to read manner. If you guys want to add this to your daily research, it is a premium perk of having a membership at RunDFS.com. Go to RunDFS.com, click memberships, and there's a few options available. Like I said, a lot of this was tailored to DFS, but the transition to prop hunting has been really smooth, and I've been serving the prop hunting side of things for over a year now. We've had this player props tab in the spreadsheet featuring minute projections, PrizePicks fantasy points, real points, rebounds, assists, PRA, 3-pointers made, free throws made, all that stuff that you could find individually on PrizePicks. So if you guys want access to that, it is part of a premium membership at RunDFS.com, and more notably, you get access to the RunDFS.com premium Discord. So every day before lock, we're hanging out in voice chat, talking strategy for the slate, not just for DFS, but PrizePicks and prop hunting as well, digesting news and information, getting up to the minute news from Gundacker, and it's just a lot of fun as part of my daily process. It should be part of your daily process, and it is something that you can jump into right away. That voice chat is not for you to listen to me ramble. It's for you to grab a mic, be part of the fun, and connect with other like-minded guys in the community. Let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks facing your Golden State Warriors. Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis taking on Steph Curry and Klay Thompson potentially. 211.5 total. 3.5 point spread in favor of the Golden State Warriors. I talked about the Warriors suffering defensively without Draymond Green this morning. Man, my throat is scratchy. I need some to wet my whistle. We talked about Draymond Green's absence being pretty notable. At a 211 total, there's not a ton of implied points, and the Mavericks have been such a strong defense playing such a slow pace. I'm curious to get your take on how the Warriors react to this recent downstretch. Do you think Klay Thompson is playing, and do you have any interest in any of the Warriors lines? And then lead me into Kristaps Porzingis, because this morning you kind of led me to looking at Porzingis, and the more I looked at it, the more I was interested. What are you doing with this Warriors game from a prop standpoint?
Yeah, Porzingis is one of my favorite plays, just because the Warriors are just, really struggling in the paint. I mean, they're talking about what trade options for the trade deadline, but they don't really have any, trade bait. So they're going to have to deal with what they have in Looney, but they really notice how they're suffering lately. Christian Wood just dropped over 50 on them. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Stewart had a big game on him recently. They're just getting dominated on the boards and giving up a lot of points in the paint. So I think Porzingis can get over 7.5 rebounds easily. And what do they have his fantasy points at right now?
I have Porzingis at 40 fantasy points, and PrizePicks had Porzingis
34.
at 30. You said 34. So I'd be okay with that over. Yeah. And like we talked about for some of these other cats, Porzingis, a real part of his game is blocks and steals. So those defensive metrics being so valuable from the PrizePicks scoring +3, that could be a 6, maybe 7.5, 8 implied extra. So I like the over on that.
And then the other two I like are Finney Smith over 4.5 rebounds. He's been clearing that, and he should have an easier time today getting rebounds. And then I like Luka over 5 free throws. He's been clearing that easily, and the Warriors have been really fouling as of late, especially with Kuminga playing. He fouls at a high rate. Gary Payton fouls at a high rate. So I can see Luka getting over 5 free throws pretty easily.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good look here. So I'll jot down Luka. Think of it. Luka is a locka for 5 rebounds.
He's doubling those free throws recently. He said 9, 8, 11, 12. I mean, he should get there for sure.
Yeah. If you didn't want to get into Porzingis 34.5 fantasy points, which I think is pretty soft, especially since it's just 7 above his PRA. I think that 7.5 rebound line for Porzingis is also pretty fun. That hasn't moved at all since I featured it this morning. He averages 8 rebounds on the season. So in a game that should play pretty much competitive, I expect him, all he has to do is meet a season average, and then having the boost in matchup, considering Draymond Green's absence, I think 7.5 is very doable. Would you rather get the fantasy points for Porzingis or the rebounds?
A rebound, probably.
Okay. I think I'm fine with either. I'm fine
with either. It's 50-50, but if I had to pick one, I would get rebound.
Let's see. Warriors defensive rebound rate last, let's go 10 games. Really, I should just do without Draymond Green. The other question I was going to ask you is, do you think Otto Porter starts or Kuminga starts?
Steve Kerr has been so hard to predict with Kuminga. He just goes back and forth. Seems like he can't decide what he wants to do. Defensively, I could see Kuminga getting the start because they need him for Porzingis and Luka. So that would be the only rationale I could get behind for why Kuminga would start.
So Warriors have a 77.1% defensive rebound rate without Draymond Green. To put that in perspective, it would be a little bit closer to league average, so not the elite levels that we had saw them accomplish earlier this season. And then, like you said, it's just been a traffic cone down there for opposing bigs to pick up some peripherals. So I'm with that. other talking points here on tonight's slate? Do we have any that I missed out on? Where are we at? 140. What are we close on?
Jokic. If we want to go over Jokic props at all.
All right, sweet. Shout out to my boy, Always Be Placing. He's going to the game. ABP, by the way, chat, if you didn't know this, he has won 2 million makers. He's a member of the Discord community. He's going to the Tournament of Champions this weekend in Arizona. But tonight, he's going to the Pistons game. He just told me earlier he's getting to see Jokic in person. So I told him I'll try and find some fun Jokic stuff to sweat live. So let's talk about some of these potential Jokic lines and some of these Pistons lines, or excuse me, not Pistons, Nuggets lines against the Pistons. What stood out to you? Everything? It's Jokic.
Yeah, I know. I mean, his point total, rebound. So I mean, I guess get on his PRA. And then when I set this target list, they didn't have his fantasy points. What is it at now?
So I have him at 65. They have him at 57.
Okay, so it's pretty similar to the differential of Harden, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
Harden's at 56 and with about a 9-10 point differential. Yeah, so I get on that too. But yeah, if you don't want to sweat, the 50 plus, he's been so efficient scoring recently. I could get on the 24.5. Yeah, his rebounding's kind of down lately. And it's probably just the natural ebb and flow of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Detroit is obviously the worst rebounding team in the league. He should get over 12.5, you would think. But
yeah, let me see. The Nuggets, when I was doing the injury report a minute ago, I thought I had Will Barton. Yeah, Will Barton questionable, but now he's probable. Okay. Does it feel like 8 assists is a little light?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Let's see. He's averaging 7.6 on the season, but he's cleared 8 a lot lately, and it is the Pistons. The Pistons are not going to offer much resistance, but 7.5 point spread. I guess it could get lopsided. They did add DeMarcus Cousins, Bryn Forbes off the bench. I don't know. I like that. I like the 8, but I'm with you. I think Jokic is a fun guy to sweat, but I think the 8 is probably a little too low. But everything makes a lot of sense. How about let me see, Jokic. Is Jokic really giving us a ton of blocks and steals lately? 1, 2, yeah, he is getting some steals. So 3 blocks and steals, so that's 9 fantasy points. So do we get a +9 on the PRA? It's 54. We get like a +12 on the fantasy score versus the PRA. All right, yeah. What's your absolute favorite Jokic line?
Well, they keep increasing his points. It started at 23.5 last night, went up to 24.5 this morning. Now it's at 25.5. I guess I could get on the 8 assists. Yeah, 8 assists, and then the 12.5 rebound. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, this is a slate where there's so many good spots that I would try to get to your cards in earlier than later, because I think a lot of these guys that we've talked about, they're going to keep going up throughout the day. By at least 2 points. So
I've definitely seen a lot of line movement since I first looked at the slate this morning and started jotting down some stuff. So the earlier the better. I would say hold out at least 19 minutes, right? We should get our first Taco Tuesday in 19 minutes. Is that when they drop it too? Yeah. And then I will be doing another stream right after this stream, the DFS breakdown, FanDuel, DraftKings, eyes added to the mix, but I'll still be keeping focus in the back of my mind on some PrizePicks stuff. So as I go through game by game, I'll be like, all right, so remember this on PrizePicks now that we have this information, or now that we have the Taco Tuesday. So if you guys aren't familiar with Taco Tuesday, I think it's 3 discounted props that they drop every 2 hours, something like that. And then you get like a maximum $20 you can put on that bet, but it's usually a free square. So a couple of extra opportunities tonight to make some extra scratch with a lessened or lowered level of difficulty. Let's breeze through chat real quick. Almost 90 viewers for the PrizePicks stream, so huge shout out to all you guys, because this stream is less than a week old, and already you guys are showing it a lot of love, a lot of traction, and really making it worth it. Alex McCormick, yo, what up, Alex? What up, E Brown? J. Cole, Jermaine Cole, Lorenzo says Murray about to get the Taco Tuesday PRA discount. So I do believe they decide these PRAs in their Discord. So they have the taco bar voting. Let's see.
That would be a lock for sure, depending how much it goes down.
Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a DeJounte Murray PRA discount, which I would already take. And then for Jokic, they're also voting on PRA, it looks like. So
okay.
Is that, I guess this is a hint at what we're dealing with today. Yeah, okay. So it looks like we should expect DeJounte Murray and Nikola Jokic discounts, and it looks like they're both going to be PRA based. So if you're into DeJounte PRA, which I am, I'm also there for fantasy points. But wait a little bit, and they might chop off 20%. And the same with Jokic. So Jokic PRA right now is at 45.5. Maybe it goes down to like 39 or something. Would be all about that. Batum 8.5 points against the Wizards. Give me that. Come on, Lorenzo. We not put money on Nick Batum tonight. Stop it. Oh, I'm just kidding. What are your favorites of the day? I think we just kind of went through them all. Renee, Andre, music. Does Murray do better first half or whole game? I think he's all 4 quarters. NBA first half props for the Spurs. We've got DeJounte 10.5 points, 25 fantasy points. I think that's interesting. Nothing really that I'd rather chop in half here. I don't usually go crazy with first half props unless I think it's going to be a blowout and I'm scared of not getting the fourth quarter. But if you just want to expedite your sweat, go for it. But if you're going to get that Murray PRA discount, might as well hold out for that. John Payton retiring, yeah, that's crazy. The Saints are. He got Taysom Hill the bag and say later. Everyone around the industry had got Harden 65 to 66 fantasy point. Yeah, same here. What's the lock pick to build on? Josh, what did you say?
A lot of people are asking that. Maybe we can just build a card at the end. What do you think? Just like do a joint card 5 flex.
Sure. I gotta get out. I gotta get off the air. It's 1:45. All
right. Well, no, we can just quickly say it if you want.
All right. Yeah. Let's name them out real quick.
DeJounte, PRA, the taco, depending on the taco discount. Harden fantasy points and Jokic fantasy points and assist. And what else do we go? Porzingis 7.5 rebound.
Yeah.
Luka
free throws.
5 free throws.
Yeah.
I think that's 5 we listed right there.
And Patty Mills real points is the one that I'm pretty privy to.
Yes, Patty Mills real points, 14.5 points. Right.
Bet. Otherwise, all right, chat. Just do me a favor before you guys get out of here. Hit that thumbs up. I gotta come back live in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to revisit all this. I'm gonna go through every game. You don't have to it's not just for price or just for DFS. Every game's gonna have information in terms of matchup usage rates, all that good stuff. And then we'll also be getting more news for the slate. React to that, digest to that, see what it changes. Would love for you guys to join me over there. Hey, yo, Shadow, Stefan, appreciate that sub. So yeah, if you want to run it back in 10 minutes, go get yourself a drink and let's talk some more basketball for tonight's big slate. Josh, you're going to be back Friday?
Yeah, Friday. Yeah.
All right, Josh will be back Friday, but I will be back. Wait, what is today? Wednesday? Yeah, Tuesday. All right, so I'll be back tomorrow for an afternoon stream. Thursday we probably don't stream. It's only 2 games, and then big Friday night slate. So we'll take advantage of that. Shadow says, "Hey man, what do you think of Russell over 7.5 assists? Russell Westbrook or D'Angelo Russell? Russell Westbrook, I probably wouldn't go crazy with AD back. LeBron James could facilitate a little bit more, and then D'Angelo Russell against the Blazers." I probably wouldn't go crazy with that one either. So I'm probably staying away from that one altogether, no matter which guy it is, right? You disagree with that? Yeah. Anyway, chat, I'll see you guys in a little bit. I love you guys. I appreciate you hanging out. Thumbs up, sub if you haven't. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.
Good luck.